When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should crumble and fall, and the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, you just stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.
Good morning and welcome to WellSprings. My name is Benjamin Kaufman. My pronouns are he and him, and I am so full of joy to be here today as your worship leader. If this is your first time here, we welcome you with open arms just as you are. And if this is not your first time here, we also welcome you with open arms just as you are. Each week when we gather, we light a chalice. The last time I worship led, I believe the chalice was lemon scented. Today it is grapefruit scented, so super yummy smelling. And this sweet smelling chalice is not only a motif of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists, but it also resembles a divine spark that is within each and every one of us. So I will be lighting the chalice today, and after I've done so, we are going to say the words on the screen together. Don't worry, I'm going to explain that in a little bit. Hopefully I won't burn myself this time. Oh, come on. There we go. And together we say, we light our chalice to celebrate the path set before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. Like most times I speak, I've had a challenge with this recently. The primary reason is here. And no, I'm not giving you guys the middle finger. As you can see, I broke my left middle finger, and this happened about a month ago, a little more than a month ago. And in addition to the break, I needed surgery to help my bones realign properly. And this has been fairly disruptive. I lost most practical use of my left hand. And as some of you may know, I work at Trader Joe's, which is a very physically demanding job, particularly with lifting and moving things. So since the break and until I recover, I'm required to be on a medical leave of absence. Now I recognize that this isn't the worst thing in the world, But to use a metaphor of a cup that is filled with water, this is one very significant drop added to an already full cup. And this is the single drop that can cause the process of overflow as the water spills to the table, to the ground, however you want to visualize it. I'm positive all of you have felt this way before, and I would bet many of you are feeling this right now. When I begin to overflow, a few things usually happen. First, I start to struggle with my mental health. Anxiety, for instance, seems to be a constant in my life right now. I was having issues with it before the break, and now it's just constant. Second, I struggle to maintain commitments and relationships. And the worst form of this is complete isolation. I also tend to procrastinate to the point of getting something done only when absolutely necessary, or just not at all because I procrastinated it for so long. Sitting here right now is actually an example of this. I'm filming this on Thursday. It's almost Thursday evening. This is the last day for me to get in my video. This is me, a result of my procrastination. I also wrote all of my message earlier today. So these are a few of my more sincere overflowing reactions. Some of you may have very similar responses to overflow in your life, and some of you may have responses that are entirely different from my own. And that's okay. We're all unique in every ways, but also in our suffering. And if you feel this way right now, just please know you're not alone. I'm personally grateful that I'm aware of my overflow symptoms so I can do something about them. And I wasn't always able to do so. It took a lot of time and therapy and work on these things to start to make changes. So if you're struggling right now to work on your overflow and on the things that are happening to you because you're so overwhelmed, just know that with some help and time, you will most certainly get there. I promise you. In terms of my anxiety, I talk about it, and I'm open. Not everybody understands, and that's okay. But those who do, they make all the difference. It also helps because communication about such intimate subjects helps me to not feel so alone. And you also realize when you talk about these things that everybody has those hurts deep down inside them, even if they're different from one another. As for my commitments and relationships, I tell myself that it's okay to be imperfect and it's okay to struggle. This acknowledgement of imperfection allows me to not feel so anxious and enables me to continue to make sure to make time for those important commitments and push past any anxiety that can prevent me from reaching out to people important to me. And the strategy certainly isn't perfect, but it does prevent me from entering into that complete isolation I was talking about. As for procrastination, I find it helps a lot to set a specific time to begin on a specific day in my calendar, and to give myself the understanding that the requirement is just to begin, right? Not to do the whole thing, just to begin. Because oftentimes beginning is the hardest part. And when you do begin, it's much easier to complete. So all of these strategies help me. They don't necessarily cease the overflow, but they almost certainly prevent me from drowning. And with this work, which I should add is lifelong and monumentally challenging, if you continue this work each day, it does seem to get a little bit better. And eventually, after enough days of it getting a little bit better and a little bit better, I find that my cup, if you're remembering the metaphor, gets a little bit bigger. And suddenly it doesn't seem to overflow so much. And there becomes room for a little bit of that charge of the soul that can fit in among the many droplets. My wish for you all today is to be mindful of your cup and to provide yourself with the self-love and self-compassion required to healthily handle the many challenges that this sometimes overflowing cup can provide. All right, so here you are watching our Sunday service. And maybe you're struggling to find ways to connect like I am. Well, there's some good news. Reaching out is easier than ever. We have our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and website information, all of which should be on the screen to your right. And check us out, please do. And keep in mind that if you're looking for contact information for our ministers or staff, that information can be found on our WellSprings website, which should be the last of the 4 information on the screen right now. And if you're curious about any of our songs or need more information about general events, a lot of that information can be found in the video description below. Now, Jessica, who normally has some announcements each week, is on vacation. So today, I'm going to hand you all off to Paula. Thank you, Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula Bauer. I'm filling in for Jessica, who's on vacation. I have 2 announcements for you this week. The first is a reminder about the anti-racism small group that WellSprings is planning. Jessica mentioned last week that if you're interested in joining, there are a couple of steps to get you started. The first is a questionnaire you'll need to fill out, and the second is to attend one of the online Q&A sessions. The first session was held last Thursday, and the second one is today at 1 o'clock. You can read all about the anti-racism group by clicking on the link in the chat. Finally, if you haven't filled out the 2 surveys, the first one from Miss Carol for families, she's looking to get your thoughts to help plan the Youth Spirit program for the upcoming year. And the other survey is the congregational survey about gathering in person and if that appeals to you and what that looks like. Both can be found in the chat. Thanks, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Paula. At WellSprings, the foundation of all we do is found in the power of connection, of making space in our hearts and in our lives for one another. So let's greet one another. Hello, everybody. But just to be serious, please, you can send a text to someone you know at WellSprings, maybe someone you haven't talked to in a while, or maybe you can say hi in the live video chat. Or maybe you can't do it right now and you can do it a little bit later. Go for it. Or maybe, like I've been in this place many times, maybe it's not the best time right now and you're struggling. This is okay. We all have those struggles. Just know that you are not alone, and also that we're all here in the spirit of connection. Now, normally this is the time where I bring my dog Gaius up. Because of my finger, I shouldn't really be picking him up and putting him on my lap right now. So instead, I'm going to introduce you all to Ben the dinosaur. Its name is actually Ben. I think the big reason why I got it. It's wonderful. So I am greeting Ben the dinosaur right now because I'm using my phone and I can't send a text to anybody. So hello, Ben the dinosaur. I hope you have a wonderful day. I invite you now into our time of generosity. This is a time to reflect upon and to express our gratitude for the role WellSprings plays in our own lives and in our world. If you feel the value of our community, we hope you'll share a gift with us. And this gift could be monetary, it could be time, volunteering, all sorts of things you can do to show your gratitude. And hey, would you look at that? This little banner sure makes it easy. So, as the banner says, you can text WSprings to 73256 to make a donation. There you go. Pretty easy to do that, right? So thank you all so very much for your support. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Just as we've taken the time to share the energy of connection among us and generosity beyond us, Let's now devote some time to reground into the deep and soulful energy that is within ourselves. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath. We inhale and exhale without rush or hurry. We breathe in and then we breathe out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be, and nothing else to do than to be here together now. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of mindful silence. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and presence in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we are doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you this moment. May it be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come. May it be so for all of us. And now, Ben the Dinosaur has a little announcement. It is time for our You See It Now!
Hello, WellSprings. These are the water frogs that have been in the Choi family for quite a while now. We have 3. We used to have 5, and 2 of them died. But we've had them for over 10 years. There he is. They're actually African clawed aquatic frogs. So they live completely underwater. So this is actually a fish tank. Let's see if I can get them to move for you. And we got them as baby tadpoles, and they have grown into adults. And you don't really have to do much. There he is. You can see the claws on his front arms, and then his back legs are webbed. So a lot of times people will say they have African dwarf frogs, but the dwarf frogs have webbed front feet and hind feet. These have the claws or the individual fingers on the front feet. So this guy's doing his, motionless freeze position so that we can't see him. And they kind of blend in with the rocks we have, and then we have this little structure that they can hide in. There's a tunnel in there. Here's another one. They don't really have names, or they had names at one point and then we forgot them. The bigger ones, this is called the outstretch. The bigger ones are the females, and the smaller one, like this guy, is the male. And we think, there they are. So they're kind of interesting to watch. They move around a lot. When we feed them, I'll show you what we feed them. We feed them this tadpole and frog food, which is basically just little microscopic bits of dried fish, anchovies, and some soy meal and some other supplements. But they don't really need a lot to eat. There he goes. And sometimes they'll shoot from the bottom of the tank all the way to the top to get, they don't need air to breathe, so I don't know why they do that. Maybe just to dry off a little bit. And they don't like light. There was a light that came on this tank. They prefer the dark, and they prefer murky water, even though I like the tank to be nice and clean. They prefer it when it's murky. So I guess that's a good excuse not to clean it as often as I'd like to. So anyway, if you're interested in a water frog, an African water frog, you can get them online. You can go to growafrog.com, and you get them as a tadpole, and they tell you how to raise them, and they can live a really long time, so be prepared to hang on to them. Somebody's got to clean the tank, somebody's got to feed them, and it's a good idea to get a lid. I don't have a lid on this one because I wanted to show you, because they can jump out. We had one that jumped out and we found in the corner of our family room, and my dog Scrappy found him there. So we picked him up and put him back in the tank. So that's all for now, guys. I'm glad I could share my frogs with you. Bye-bye.
I can beat the night. I'm not afraid of thunder. I am full of light. I am full of wonder. Whoa, 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 I ain't falling under. Whoa, 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 I am full of wonder. Though our feet might ache, the world's upon our shoulders. No way we're gonna break, 'cause we are full of wonder. Whoa, 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 we ain't falling under. Whoa, 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 we are full of wonder. This light is contagious. Go tell your neighbors. Just reach out and pass it on. This light is contagious. Go tell your neighbors. Just reach out and pass it on. This light is contagious. Go tell your neighbors. Just reach out and pass it on. This light is contagious. Go tell your neighbors. Just reach out and pass it on. Whoa, whoa, we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder. When everything feels wrong and darkness falls upon you, just try sing along. This is a message from Cabana. If your heart turns blue, I want you to remember that this song is for you, and you are full of wonder. Whoa, whoa, we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder. Whoa, whoa, we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder.
Good morning. I'm Chris Chappelle. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm delighted to be preaching today. The subject of this week's installment of our Spirit Flicks message series, in which we explore the spiritual wisdom in the stories we watch on our screens, is Star Trek Picard, a 10-episode streaming series which was originally released from January through March of this year. Now, I was really excited when I found out about this series To understand why, I'll give you a little context. I was born in 1974, several years after the original Star Trek series had ended and started rerunning in syndication. So from the time I was a small child, the voyages of the Starship Enterprise, whose mission in the 23rd century was to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man has gone before, has always just been there, often playing in the background in the evening or on a weekend afternoon. There were only 79 episodes in total, so it wasn't difficult to catch them all over time. Star Trek's basic message, that we should boldly go, exploring the universe simply because it's there, because we are curious, really sparked my imagination as a child. It wasn't until I was older that I realized how revolutionary Star Trek was. It didn't seem all that unusual that there was a racially diverse cast, or that the series depicts a future in which humans have put aside their differences and become a unified Earth, where crew members of different nationalities and cultures sit side by side on the bridge of the Enterprise. And of course, the diversity of Star Trek doesn't end with humans. There are a litany of beings from other planets represented, some of which are members of the United Federation of Planets, of which Earth is a part. Others are in competition or conflict with the Federation. And some beings either haven't yet realized they're not alone in the universe, or have and just want to be left alone. The interactions among the Federation, its allies, its enemies, and sentient life forms the Federation has not yet encountered are what drives the plot of most Star Trek episodes. And through these interactions, Star Trek was able to hold up a mirror that reflected the pressing societal issues of the late 1960s. And it wasn't until I was even older that I realized that Star Trek's depiction of diversity was not without its flaws. There's that "where no man has gone before" line in the introduction to every single episode. There was only one person of color in the crew, and the few female crew members somewhat implausibly wear form-hugging mini dresses as uniforms. I always thought these shortcomings were a failure of imagination of the writers and producers of the show. But as it turns out, the truth is more complicated. The original pilot for Star Trek was more progressive, with everyone wearing the same uniform and even a female first officer. As creator and producer Gene Roddenberry explained it, you might have thought the ladies in the test audience would have appreciated the character. Instead, their comments were, "Who does she think she is?" The test audience, men and women alike, couldn't stand her. The show was limited by what its audience would accept, and the team made a new pilot with substantial changes, including a male first officer and those mini dresses, to make it more palatable to the late 1960s audience. On the one hand, the fact that the show was changed from its original vision makes me angry. On the other, I recognize that without compromise, the show would never have aired. Like in so many things, the perfect could easily have been the enemy of the good. The fact that the show was changed from its original vision makes me angry because the ripple effects of the general cultural hostility toward capable, assertive women, that's not an academic issue for me at all. That's impacted me directly. You see, like the women in the cast of the original Star Trek, when I started my professional career as a public accountant in 1996, there was still a raging debate about whether it was ever appropriate for women to wear pants in the workplace. And in 2007, when I was admitted to the partnership as the first female partner in my geography and practice area ever, it was several years before I was successful in convincing my male colleagues to stop introducing me as, "And this is Chris, our first female partner." They didn't understand that leading with an emphasis on my difference diminished rather than enhanced my credibility. In 1987, when I was 13, Star Trek The Next Generation first aired, and I watched it for all 7 of its seasons. The events of Next Generation are set a century after the events of the original series, and there were some improvements here from a diversity perspective. Where no man has gone before is replaced with where no one has gone before. The women did get to wear pants, although the primary female characters were still in traditionally helping roles, as the ship's doctor and the ship's counselor. There were several actors of color with long-term roles in the series, and there were other forms of diversity too. One character was born blind and wears a visor that not only allows them to see, but provides superior vision. And Next Generation also introduced synthetic life in the form of crew member Commander Data, a self-aware humanoid life form created by humans who in some ways has superior abilities, but struggles and strives to understand human emotions and behavior, and really just wants to be more human. There have been several other Star Trek series over the years, but having literally grown up with the crew of Next Generation, it's always been my favorite. So, yeah, I'm clearly in the target demographic for Picard, which picks up 20 years after the end of the Next Generation story, and focuses on Jean-Luc Picard, who was captain of the Enterprise throughout the series. Picard, as portrayed by Patrick Stewart, was a thoughtful and reflective captain with a collaborative leadership style and a clear commitment to accountability and responsibility in pursuing the Enterprise's mission. He often found a way to creatively solve complicated issues through diplomacy rather than violence. We learn as the new series begins that Picard's time with Starfleet did not end well. After rising to admiral, he resigned in protest after Starfleet abandoned plans to rescue Romulan citizens from a supernova when rogue synthetics attacked the rescue fleet. In addition to aborting the rescue, the attack on the fleet resulted in a ban on all synthetic life. Picard resigned because he disagreed with the decisions of Starfleet leadership, feeling they were not living up to their commitment of honoring the value and worth of all beings. Picard has retired to his family vineyard and has been ruminating for 14 long years on both the failed Romulan rescue and the death of his good friend and synthetic life form, Commander Data, who sacrificed his life to save Picard's. Picard has never married. He has grown old. He is tired, and he is clearly unhappy. The show primarily focuses on Picard's journey as he nears the end of his life, to tie up loose ends, make amends where he can, and of course, save the universe from total annihilation while he's at it. It also, in the best Star Trek tradition, holds up a mirror to our current times, particularly the rise of isolationism and the othering of groups based on aspects of their identity. Picard struck me as much more trauma-informed than prior Star Trek installments. All of the members of the crew he assembles to help him on his quest, including Picard himself, have experienced trauma that is reflected in the ways they interact with the world and with each other. And not all of their coping mechanisms are healthy ones. Now, without getting too deeply into the intricate plot, Picard and crew find themselves racing to find the homeworld of a group of synthetics who have been created in spite of the ban. Also in pursuit of the synthetics are a group who want to destroy all synthetic life because of their religious belief that the existence of such beings will bring about the apocalypse. At a pivotal moment in the series, when things look particularly hopeless, Picard offers these words: The past is written, but the future is left for us to write. And we have powerful tools: openness, optimism, and the spirit of curiosity. Sitting here in the midst of everything going on in the world right now, this struck me as a bit naive initially. Really? Our curiosity is going to get us out of this mess? But when I thought about it, I certainly believe the corollary, that our ignorance may destroy us. Octavia Butler broke new ground as a woman and African-American science fiction writer in her 1998 book Parable of the Talents, the second in a series that depicts the struggle to survive the hopefully not too prescient socioeconomic and political collapse of 21st century America. She includes these words: beware, ignorance protects itself. Ignorance promotes suspicion. Suspicion engenders fear. Fear quails, irrational and blind, where fear looms defiant and closed. Blind, closed, suspicious, afraid. Ignorance protects itself, and protected ignorance grows. Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., in a speech at Cornell College in October 1962, also talked about the relationship between ignorance and fear. He said, "I am convinced that people hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because they don't communicate with each other. And they don't communicate with each other because they are separated from each other." As I am learning more about allyship, and like many others, I am very much at the beginning of this journey, I understand that genuine curiosity can indeed be a powerful tool to help bridge that separation, not as an end to itself, but as a start, a beginning. And we don't have to go it alone. The spirit of curiosity is integral to WellSprings' beliefs and commitments, to who we are as a community. We believe in the burning bush that blazes everywhere, that the divine is present to us in the holiness of our everyday experiences, and the possibility of revelation is always open to us through our mindful attention. It is our mindful attention, our curiosity, that opens the door to the holy. Curiosity also weaves throughout our commitments, including those to honor our relationships, work for justice, and listen deeply. They call us to openness, honest discernment, humility, and vulnerability. These are powerful tools indeed. Sometimes it's not our answers, but our questions that best serve. I'd like to close with the story of Daryl Davis, who was the only black man in a country band playing an all-white venue in Maryland in 1983. After their set, a member of the audience approached Davis to compliment his piano skills. They hit it off, shared a drink, and the audience member admitted that he had never had a drink or even a conversation with a black man before. He said that was because he was in fact a card-carrying member of the Ku Klux Klan. But the two hit it off, exchanged numbers, and became friends. That was the start of what Daryl calls his obsession, to find an answer to the question, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? How can you hate me when you don't even know me? His curiosity around this question led him to numerous face-to-face conversations with white supremacists. He listened to their point of view and got to know them as people, and respectfully spoke from his own experience. In many cases, over time, these dialogues led to the white supremacists changing their views. One Klan leader shut down his entire chapter and gave his robe and hood to Davis. And that was not a unique occurrence. Davis now has a closet full of robes from former members. Daryl Davis explains why his approach is so powerful. He says, People must stop focusing on the symptoms of hate. That's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. We've got to treat it down to the bone, which is ignorance. The cure for ignorance is education. You fix the ignorance, there's nothing to fear. If there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to hate. If there's nothing to hate, there's nothing or no one to destroy. I don't think it's much of a spoiler to reveal here that at the end of Picard, the synthetics are not in fact destroyed. The Federation establishes diplomatic relations with them, and the ban on their existence is lifted. There are many other things the series explores: love, aging, death, loss, family, friendship, religion, even resurrection. It's worth a watch if you haven't yet had the opportunity. My husband Owen, who is far from a Trekkie, assures me after coming along for the ride that you don't have to have prior Star Trek experience to enjoy this series. But the best reason to watch Picard, friends, is this. It serves as an invitation in these uncertain times to be brave, to be curious, to be open, and to be kind. Amen. So may it be. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer? God of life and love, in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of fear, may we remember that we always have a choice each and every moment to close down or to open up. May we choose to open. May we let our curiosity be our guide and courageously go wherever it leads us. For this prayer and all the unspoken prayers resting in our hearts this day, we say amen. So may it be.
Across the evening sky, all the birds are leaving. Oh, but then they know it's time for them to go. By the winter fire, we'll still be dreaming. I have no thought of time, for who knows where the time goes, who knows where the time goes. Sad desert shore, all your friends are leaving. Oh, but then you know it's time for them to go. I'll still be here, I have no thought of leaving. I have no thought of time, for who knows where the time goes, who knows where the time goes. I know I'm not alone when your love is with me. And I know that it's so, even when it's time to go. winter, and the birds of spring again. I do not feel the time, for who knows how my love grows, who knows where the time goes. And who knows where the time goes, who knows where the time goes.
We extinguish our chalice, but the light remains. And we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you at coffee hour on Zoom at 11. Be well, be safe, stay curious, and I can't resist this being a Star Trek message. Live long and prosper.